And welcome back to the Ruby Tuesday. My name is Ruben, and this is my review for Russian Doll Season 2. It's probably a series you forgot about. Nevertheless, we've got Season 2. Is it worth your while? Let's jump in. Season 2 of Russian Doll will continue to explore existential thematics through an often humorous and sci-fi lens. At first, they experience this as an ever-expanding era-spanning intergenerational adventure, but they soon discover that this extraordinary event might be more than they bargained for, and together must search for a way out. So season 1 of Dollhouse was basically a timey-wimey, loop-de-loop, how many times can you die, Groundhog's Day thing. And in the last episode, we found out that Alan and Nadia were in 2 separate times, and that was the reason why they couldn't quite sync. But nevertheless, they did manage to break out of that, and we thought everything was going to be okay, sort of. This time around, it's all about discovering who you are in your past. And in order to do that, it's a time, rather than dying, they mess with time this time. So through a portal in Manhattan, both Alan and Nadia start messing around in their past. And the way they do that is experiencing it through different times. And so we get different locations, different sets. And once again, the first few episodes really does take its time in explaining anything to you. In fact, you probably have next to nothing explained. As she tries to find questions, you as the audience member are also trying to find and understand what the hell is going on. What's going to keep you entertained for those first few episodes is the scripting, the comedic way that our Nadia character, for the most part, again, is full of potty mouth, drinking, smoking. Her character is fully alive and vibrant as she was in season 1. So if you enjoyed that in season 1, you're going to get much more of that in season 2. But then we're also, because we're playing with portals in time, we're going to see those locations and how she reacts to being in that and what it means for her. If she can do something that might affect herself, then maybe she can change the way her life, the outcome, and that unravels a story. Very hard not to do spoilers in this, but that unravels the story and makes things go topsy-turvy. Once again, we have Alan in this, but he's very minimalistic in this. If you remember the first season, we only see that character appear halfway through, and then it makes more sense. It's kind of doing the same thing, so you do need to give this series time once again. Because the first half is Nadia, and you're like, what does this mean? How's she getting out of the time loop? You think maybe that is just the story, and you're still trying to figure out why it's called Russian Doll. I know a lot of people guessed. I believe they explain that in season 2. So all of your theories, I'm not sure we're correct, because it makes sense to us once you find out a certain thing that happens to Nadia. You're like, okay, now I get that. So it all kind of connects, but you do have to give it time and space. See what I did there? On purpose, so that once we get to that kind of midway, we start investigating again with Alan and see what he goes through. And then we have those last 3 episodes that really are the crescendo of not just the second season, but the first one as well. It feels like all roads connect in a nice crescendo of like it comes full circle. The story is written that way. I doubt very much we're going to get a 3rd season. It feels like everything is wrapped up. They could, if they wanted to, mess with other things, but I hope not, because this feels like a nice contained story. Even though we've waited 3 years and you probably have forgotten a lot of what's going on, it does a nice kind of remind you at the beginning, but the series itself reminds you of kind of what this was, especially those last 3 episodes. You kind of go, oh yeah, I remember when those characters were involved, and I remember when that happened. And it starts piecing together itself as you are the viewer. Our characters start piecing, mostly Nadia starts piecing together the puzzle piece of her life, and she starts understanding why this has happened to her and Alan. I don't think I understand why it happened to Alan, but I do understand why it happened to her. So there is a possibility of a 3rd season with Alan, but I really don't think they should pull it out. All I can say is the score, it's fantastic. Once again, has an eclectic, interesting, from instrumental to classical to rock. Because they're traveling different times, there's stuff they can play with. That lends itself into the cinematography that is often feeling very, if you're on drugs, centered on characters that are going through a journey, but is often very hyper realistic. Our characters often are on some extra substance or other, so that will give you an indication. With Nadia, you know you're going to get something like that, and they explore that. And when you're dealing with time as well, that always comes into play. So it's a very nice mix of what the hell is going on, asking yourself all these questions, and eventually, as you start have an understanding, it kind of works out. So it's a puzzle piece that you have to allow it to work. Otherwise, you're just going to have your brain explode and you'll be like, what did I just watch? If you enjoyed the first season, it doubles down on what it had in the first season and then kind of finishes up and wraps it up, and you're like, I enjoyed that, I think. It is one of those series. I love the scripting. I love the characters. I'm not so sure I'm in love with the story once I know what has happened, but I love the journey of the characters that went through that story. Does that make sense? All right, let me know your thoughts below about this series. Love to hear your thoughts on this, especially the second season. But most of all, until next time, remember, live long Tuesday.